Michael with Back to the Future Trading, founder and president. Today is August 15th, 2021, local time, Eastern Zone of the United States is 3:49 p.m. Today we're going to be using some of the tools available to us in our predictive trading technology arsenal, in particular Warp and Alpha, to go through some of the predictive analyses for the most popular markets traded today. E-mini S&P, the Dow, oil, gold, and cryptocurrency, as well as a few stocks that we've got our eyes on. So let's start out and take a look. First up on deck is Ethereum. Ethereum presently trading around $3,200, and we've got some analyses here ranging from 30-minute charts out to daily charts. Let's take a look at Ethereum on a daily chart using the alpha indicator daily cycle markers based on predictive lunar levels. And so in this instance, one of the things that's important to note when trading Ethereum is the inflection points surrounding the major signals from the alpha package. And so we'll look here from Tachyon Alpha, and you start to notice that there are pivot inflection points surrounding the predictive reversal times here in Ethereum. In fact, a substantial number of them seem to mark the absolute swing high and swing low. Now, things to notice here on the daily chart for Ethereum. Number one, there's a very high prevalence of bullish behavior alongside the phase one, phase two signals here, the large green dots. And so everywhere you see a large green dot is a predictive phase two. And what's noteworthy is here 4 days and 4 hours from now, we're going to be arriving at the next phase two. So first thing we want to take note of with Ethereum using the alpha suite of indicators from our Tachyon line is that phase two is arriving in 4 days and 4 hours from now. And just to get a very clear sense of what's happening, I want you to sort of work your way through. The last phase two marked a double bottom here around the $1,700 mark in Ethereum, and we have since from that point forward moved up from the close of that candle to the high approximately $1,500. If we take a net measurement here, $495, $1,500 from these lows to these highs, $800 from these lows to these highs, $500. We see that there's sort of a mean movement of around $500 to $800 with an outlier of approximately $1,500 movements from those lows. So minimally 500, upwards of 800 to 1,600 approximate dollars of movement when we arrive at that phase two, which will be interesting because if in fact that happens, you'll see that we're just shy of it. As a matter of fact, take a look at this analysis with me in Ethereum using our predictive indicator, the daily cycle marker tool from the Orion package. And so from here to here, from the low of this phase two movement to the high of this phase four movement, we have this right here. And if I come to the low of this phase two and the high of this movement coming up, we didn't quite get there, but it would be a challenge of the high up near the $4,100 mark if we did. So let's take a look at some of the other interesting levels involved here, as well as a pattern that I see repeating since back in March and April. Watch with me very quickly and take a look at these phases with me. Between the phase two and the phase four back in April, we had a run up with consolidation followed by a burst up into the phase 1 and then a pullback into the phase 2 right here. So I'm going to take a box and surround that very quickly and just make note of that as a pattern as I bring it up here with Ethereum. And I want to notice some special things about that in relation to the sequence that's playing out right now over here. So the first thing we'll take a look at, this leg from the 2 to the 3 to the 4. As we came into the 2, the 3, and the 4, do you guys notice that leveling out as we come into the pattern 4? There's sort of this leg up, and then I'll actually go back and highlight it right here, a consolidation range right here, and then we have a breakout into a pattern 1. So up, plateau, up, plateau. If we notice what's happening in corresponding moves in this sequence, there appears to be a leg up from the 2 to the 4, a leg up from the 2 to the 4, consolidation, a breakout above that pattern, and then the pattern 3 in this case marks, rather the 1, the pattern 1 marks a high of sorts. So we'll put a 1 right there. And then it pulls back down into the area of the pattern 4 right here. These numbers continue in the sequence 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. 1 in both cases of these sequence marks a temporary high. And then as we came into the next pattern 2, in this case 4 days from now, there appears to be a pullback or a reversal back down into the consolidation area and then a launch. And so I'd like you to be on the lookout for that as we go out forward into the balance of the week. A retracement back into that level area and then a potential launch 4 days and 4 hours from now in Ethereum. Again, we're using at this point the indicator from our website from the Tachyon Alpha package known as the Daily Cycle Marker Tool. We have the ability in here to activate some important levels as well. Everything with predictive time signals has a price associated with it, and that's something that we can sort of dual purpose if we want to go a little deeper. So when I activate that here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to extend those signals forward infinitely so we can get a sense of what the nearby levels are going forward into the week for Ethereum. Okay, then we've got a few here. We'll pull it out. It's a little overwhelming at first, but when we do that, we'll reduce the data series down to, let's say, the last 90 days of data. And the levels underneath us from the Daily Cycle Marker Tool involve a retrace back to 3047, and then underneath that we have 282778, and then below that there's a cluster of support, and this is very important, also near our moving average. 1, 2, 3, 4 lines between 2582 and 2703. So that could be the cluster of support that we're looking for. Double lines at 2580, 2591, the top of that range around 2706. These clusters of support, in this case, developed from lunar energy cycles, are magnets sometimes and will draw back to the primary, and if lower, here. So pullbacks to Ethereum, 3045, 28.27, and then the zone between 27.05, double support at 25.82 to 85. Okay, so there's our daily cycle marker analysis of Ethereum. As we move down into the Warp protocol, you'll see that we have two halves of our screen. Right here we've got the actual versus forecast on the left-hand side of this dotted white line. And then to the right of the white line on Ethereum for the tachyon warp, we see the expected or the anticipated, the probable future signals. These are not based on the celestial energy deltas of the alpha package. These are based on actual data patterns and the historical data of this instrument, data driven, we believe, primarily by the institutions. And so as we sort of expand out here, looking forward into the future, we can see the last few movements were selling pressure signals at these 3 points back in July and August. Moving forward, June and July. Then coming into August, we have this signal again on the 10th. This lines up with our phase 1 in that sequence where the markets tend to drop down. The next buying pressure signal over here to the right on the daily chart in Ethereum also lines up with our anticipated phase 4 movements here on the 24th. Now, one other thing I want to make note of while we're looking at the daily chart in Warp is right here. When we see a failure of a selling pressure signal like we did back on July 18th, we do initially see a hammer candle followed by a continuation right here in this pattern. But that bar, that bullish engulfing candle, and then the subsequent toppling of the stop level here, these dotted blue lines and white lines representing stop levels. When you see that occur, it's a time-based trend reversal. So as of right here on July 24th, Ethereum is institutionally and temporally, that is regarding time, in a buying pressure wave. The last time we had a stop run was back on the 21st of June, and using our tachyon warp software to determine trend reversals, I want you to see where that white line was breached. We can also infer the beginning of a downtrend. So right here, coming all the way back, we can see that the downtrend extends and then things start to reverse. So any one of these buying pressure signals now on the 24th, including the 12th of September, are in play because of that trend reversal. So moving forward into the larger time frame using Warp as a backup, we have August 24th followed by September 8th, where selling pressure is expected again, followed by September 12th into the 22nd in Ethereum. Drilling down, we can go into lower and lower time frames. Here we're just going to stop at the 30-minute. We can go down to, the 15, the 10, the 5, the 1-minute chart and trade intraday with that. But right now it's interesting that the last selling pressure signal, and none of these repaint or reappear. These were signals we were waiting for upwards of a week or more. Back here at 7 o'clock on the 13th in the evening Eastern time was the last known signal, moving forward into 10:30 on the 15th, which today is Sunday. So from 10:30 you can see here there was a bit of a stop run. This is generally what institutions do, and large players. They will come in, draw people in on the wrong side, and then trip out their short stops and move forward. As we advance forward into the future for Ethereum, I want you to see that we have the signals moving forward into the balance of the week. Tomorrow is the 16th, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. If you want, I'll stretch these out real quick and you can get a sense of, for each of these days, what the times are for the signals for the balance of the week. So for example, coming into Monday tomorrow, we're expecting selling pressure at 11 a.m. and buying pressure at 2:30 into 4 p.m. and then buying pressure continuing 7:30 Eastern in the evening. So warp allowing us to drill down into lower and lower time frames on Ethereum, as well as other popular cryptocurrencies, including Dogecoin, as well as the ever popular Bitcoin. Okay, let's take a look at the popular E-mini S&P futures instrument. Here we're just going to change everything over, and what I'll do is I'll come back in and bring our signals back a little closer, just so we have a sense of where the signals are. Instead of 12,000, we'll go back to 120 on our dot separation. And there we should see the signals a little bit closer. Here you'll see the ES is in a prolonged uptrend. And again, those same types of movements here. What's worthy of notice is that for all of the phase ones in the last several iterations, when they marked a new structural high, there was a reversal. There was a reversal on the candle following it. And so here, looking at the phase one for the E-mini S&P futures on a daily chart using the daily cycle marker signals from our alpha package. Again, this is a predictive indicator suite based on celestial energy swings. We see that the phase one historically in the last two cycles has marked an intermediate high. And as we pull back down in each of those, do an exertion analysis, we can get a sense, looking at tonight into tomorrow, of what we can possibly expect as a retracement. So according to this, if we use the last two exertion analyses to understand where it might go, we see minimally on the S&P E-mini a 44.21 level, as well as a 43.94.50, 43.68.50, and then these two become very critical for pivot reversal. We have the 43.34 as well as the 43.15.25 levels on a daily chart. So we've got about a week before that next signal kicks in, the phase two in this case. And so we'll see in that span of time. Again, this will just give us some sense of how long that usually is. Somewhere in this area with the vertical line, we could be as low as 43.35 as well as 43.14 using the daily cycle marker tool. Coming over here, we'll change the instrument on the 30-minute chart and see what we get. All right, in this instant, you'll see that the Warp software supplements our predictive analyses by leveraging a data mining approach as opposed to a celestial energy delta. And in this case, according to the historical data and the patterns encoded therein, we're looking at buying pressure on the 20th. On the 20th of August, we're presently in a selling pressure wave on the E-mini S&P. These were the last times we received a selling pressure notification. And you'll notice one of two things generally occurred. Okay, let's take a look. First off, of the last four phases, we'll see that by the second day, there was a sequence down into a new low. That happened here as well as here on the 14th as well as the 6th of May. Then we have the 23rd. And what's interesting about the 23rd is that there was a relatively weak phase here from the buying signal, followed by you can sort of see that congestion area, and then there's this launch up, a launch up. So the 23rd doesn't resemble the 6th or the 14th based on this pattern. By the third day up, we're still continuing to climb and climb higher, and it eventually breaches its level here. So one of the things to note is that between this signal and this signal, we move up about $53. And so far, from the close of this day to the close of this day, we're $43 up. So I think there's another $13 available minimally in this move. 44.6350 is where we're at right now. And then, as you can see here, from that low until the very first place it starts to sort of fall back, you'll notice here on the S&P that would bring us before the next swing pivot high as 45.43 area, the 4500 level breached, and then surging past it into the 45.40 level as well. We'll come here, we'll also change the instrument, and we'll look at the 30-minute chart for the balance of the week, and we'll come back at the end of the week and analyze these and see what in fact happened. And so moving forward, you can see that we've got a pretty good coherence between what's expected and what actually occurs in these markets. And so for the balance of the week, again, we'll kind of scrunch up the chart so you guys can get a good look through the 19th of what's expected through the end of the week. So take note of that, as well as the levels that we were looking at earlier, and watch for those high impact areas around these times. All right, let's take a look at a commodity. First up, we've got oil futures, referencing the CL0921 contract for futures. You'll notice that we're hovering right at this daily cycle marker level here, $68.52. The next level up is approximately $69.07. The other support level here that are critical, and you'll see these intraday, you can use them to play off of. We have one at 67.20 as well as 67. So in order from low to high, we've got 65.32, 65.61, we have 67.01, 67.20, and then the other ones that I previously mentioned. You can see what resistance did off of our alpha signal here at $70.16. That was definitely a tremendous level. We see over here that we had a pivot point in price around that level, and it was rejected this time. So that price was not a climb above, pull back and go. It was a flat out no this time around. So we've closed at the first level. It looks like we're going to be closing below this level. If we do close below 68.51, the next target down is 67.20. Let's take a look at the warp analyses for CL. Again, Tachyon Warp from our data mining series of tools. And here we are using the software. If you're a customer at home, I am referencing a 369 look back with a swing strength of 8 for our resonant data packet, where we're going back and looking at those days. And you'll see here that again we're in pretty good coherence so far as what's expected versus what actually happened. The last line to be punctured was this white line. It was touched but not punctured. But again, if you remember from our Ethereum analysis, this can be a very strong indication of weakness. And so while it didn't actually go through, I am going to mark this with a red line as just sort of a question mark. Has the trend reversed, and are institutions essentially pulling away? as market prices moved higher and higher, I suspect volume was lower and lower. And what's really interesting is that when we got to this selling pressure signal, there was no holding back. The markets dropped almost to the moving average, falling $9.50. When we got to the next buying pressure signal, notice this. They moved up for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days. And then one bearish engulfing candle took out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days worth of higher closes. So this level on CL, the narrative according to the software, telling us that no one really has confidence above the $74 mark in oil short term. We do need to see a violation of a blue line as a resumption of the uptrend moving forward. And we'll take a look now on CL on a 30-minute time frame to get a sense of what's expected. And you can see here on the 30-minute chart, no love lost for the buyers here. In fact, I believe this was a false run right here. That giant train up was probably on some kind of fake news, and now we're seeing again up near that $70 mark, below the 75. Institutions are just allowing things to drop lower and lower and lower. So for the balance of the week, I'm going to scrunch up our chart again. I want you to take a quick screenshot through the 19th. These are the Eastern Standard Times this week, where we're expecting 30-minute movements. And we'll go back on Friday or Saturday of this week and come back in here and see how the software did. But no arguing right here. All the trapped buyers, when the banks just said no one more time into 12:30 on Friday. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. Let's take a look at one stock. I don't really have a good choice other than to type best Robinhood stock, and Investors Business Daily says these are the best Robinhood stocks to buy or watch right now this week. First one that comes up is Nvidia. And so what I'm going to do here is just run through the same analyses using our tool, and we'll see that looking at Nvidia, we've got the same, very similar pattern that we had with Ethereum. The phase 2 are just dominant bullish pressure events, okay? And the phase 4s in this are dominant bearish events. So again, the alpha package of our tachyon series is based on celestial energy waves. So we have lunar energy waves that affect the Earth's magnetic and electrical field. There is a well-documented response between human sensitivities, risk and greed, and all those wonderful emotions. And so these are directly tied to those energy cycles that are measurable and verifiable. But what's interesting to me with Nvidia is, number one, the phase 1 in this instance is behaving very differently than the phase 1 back here. So when Nvidia sold off back from the highs in on the 6th of July, it got to the phase 1 and there was no interest in continuing that move, where energy should have been resuming, and people intentionally sold off very hard for 3 days. Now, this instance at the phase 1, no such response. In fact, we have a low-hanging wick right here indicating that level was held, 195. We closed above it. Then we closed above the next level at 198.52, and now it looks like we're on track to close above the third level at 199.89. If that's the case, we are moving forward towards 206.29 as well as 207.01. Now, there's a class that I teach with our customers that helps people understand targeting. We're basically going to use these lunar energy deltas to measure where Nvidia may in fact go, and I'm going to put a 100% retracement above the the last known cluster of support and resistance right here on the outskirts of that zone, and that puts me around the $215.75 mark at the earliest. And then if we come up and I take it another ladder rung using time-based projection laws, that takes us up to 224.30. So interesting here, a couple scenarios that could play out with Nvidia, and we'll come back and take a look at this. Number one, from the low of the phase 2 to the high of the phase 4 last time, using the alpha series from our tachyon programs, there was a $25 move. Now let's assume that this rejection of this level, no close below it, and then the ascension of closes above the lunar support levels maintains. If we just take that level and we bring it over to here, if we by some chance retrace back to this level, that puts us pretty close to 224.30 right there. So if we end up by some chance at the next phase 2 over here in about 5 days, somewhere in this instance, we could be as high as 224.30. I think minimally 206.29, and then 215 beyond that. So that's our alpha analysis using these celestial energy waves, in this case lunar deltas, to analyze Nvidia. Let's take a look at warp coming back down to earth and using data mining tools to analyze the same. So we'll come here, we'll throw Nvidia on, and we'll take a quick peek at our analyses. All right, so here is the data mining analysis for Nvidia on our charts here, and I'm just going to take a quick peek to note the sequence. And if you'll remember back earlier, whether it was Ethereum or oil or the S&P, these punctures of these lines are reminiscent of institutional commitment to a move. So these are bullish punctures above the blue stop lines, and I want you to notice that there was a change in sentiment back here in February of the prior year, or this new year, just after the new year. We did have a puncture, but on the daily chart using warp, that puncture was a downtrend signal. The minute that happened, we knew that we were looking for continued extenuating, continued movement to the downside. And now here, once we punctured the blue line from April 7th, that was a reversal in sentiment, and it's happened here again, as well as here. So we see these punctures indicating as far back as April 7th that the trend in Nvidia is in fact, from a data perspective, which tells us institutionally what's happening, that they are bullish on Nvidia. So this lines up with the Robinhood advisory. Now, for the balance of the future, anything to the right of this white line is a signal that we're waiting for. That puts us at August 20th, 5 days from now, for the next bull push. So the bull push on the 24th, the 28th, as well as the 2nd of August were the last three that we were watching for. And then beyond that, September 14th, as well as the 7th of September are the next deltas that we're looking for in buying and selling pressure. Okay, on our 30-minute chart, we can see that there was clearly a high right here on the selling pressure signal, followed by an absence of interest from the institutions. So profit was being taken at 206.47, 206.47. The next signals coming up are tomorrow at 11:30 Eastern, Monday 11:30 Tuesday, followed by aftermarket trading 10:30 on the 19th of August, as well as 11:30 after hours trading, and then into the open on the 24th, so 9 days from now. Here are the signals for the 30-minute chart on Nvidia. Then when we kind of scale back down to the 15-minute chart, we can get some higher resolution. And again, what I want you to see here is the last signal we have is this confirmation of the puncture of the blue line. There was some hesitancy here. The market went into consolidation, went into a pattern, but this is a reaccumulation phase. These only occur in uptrends. So moving forward into the balance of the week, we see the 15-minute signal times here going out into the 23rd that you need to be aware of. Okay, if you have any more interest about the software, or you'd like to have a personalized demonstration, we do encourage everyone to come back to our website at backtothefuturetrading.com. We are the premier source of predictive tools, not lagging indicators like most failing traders are using, but predictive tools for savvy investors who want an edge that's real and based on the things that really drive markets: institutional manipulation and deltas in our environmental energy fields. Go ahead to our website. You can click on the view demo for a video series that will tell you a little bit more about our tools, as well as receive information about how to have a one-on-one personalized demonstration to see how your markets perform when we adopt this technique. Thanks again. This has been a market outlook for the week of August 15th. We'll get back together with you on the weekend and see how we ended up.